Ondo is one of the most undervalued projects in this space. I actually don't even understand how it has a market cap of sub $3 billion. And you might be looking at that fully diluted value of almost $10 billion and saying, Nick, this thing is not undervalued. Well, guess what? When we think about Ondo and we think about what's happening right now around crypto and even around finance itself, everything is moving on chain, and Ondo is the powerhouse behind a lot of things that a lot of people don't actually know about. This is becoming the new infrastructure for Wall Street 2.0, bringing stocks, bonds, and things like that on chain. And the best part about Ondo is that if you hold XRP, if you hold XLM, or any of these other projects in this space, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be partnered up with Ondo because they are continuing to expand their ecosystem in a huge way with some of these prominent names. Now we're going to talk about that here in a moment, but first let's actually just take a quick look at the chart real quick actually. So if we look at the all-time chart, this is what we look like currently. We are trading at prices that we saw back here in May, back here in March, back here in November, even all the way back in the summer of 2024, or even back in March and February and even April and May of 2024. So, we're still at significant low levels that is going to provide us with some great entries for great ROI. Now, I'm going to address why Ondo is extremely valuable in my mind in this video, but also talk about some facts and fundamentals as well. And if we take a quick look at the price chart, this is what we are looking like currently. We're just kind of chopping here, nothing too crazy. On the recent low back in June, we could see that we wicked all the way down to about 62 cents. This was a huge entry point. And even on the recent low, we wicked down to about 84 cents. Now, if we're looking at this on the 4-hour, the main thing to watch for really is just the lows to be held. We shouldn't really go below 84 cents. That way we could actually retain a higher low. And it actually allows us to potentially create a higher high on the chart as well. And the main thing that we're looking at is if we are going to sell off, we create a higher low somewhere around major demand. So like we have a lot of support back here, within like the 88-cent region. So we should hold this, and then we should be able to target the previous high, which is around like 95, almost 96 cents. So if we are going to continue to chop down, we hit this level, we range a little bit, we chop to the upside, possibly reject, and then we finally get that big break that we can have continuation to the upside. This would create bullish structure on the chart because we have that higher high, we have that higher low, and the chart is not creating any more weakness, aka we're not creating lower lows, we're actually creating higher lows. So that's what we want to watch for with Ondo. But overall, the macro view here on the 3-day, we are just squeezing, right? Nothing crazy happened so far. On the recent wick, we did create a higher high on the macro. We are still creating a higher low going off of that June wick. So I don't think that there's anything to really be concerned about price action wise with Ondo. We are still looking pretty good. And if we think about the all-time high here, around $2.15, nothing too crazy in terms of ROI from where we are at. But if we're going off of even just the fully diluted value of 10 billion tokens, again, we know that Ondo is a powerhouse around tokenization, around even stablecoins and things like that. This 10 billion, I would say, even if we hit $10 for a fully diluted value of $100 billion, that's not crazy to think, when it comes to a project the size of Ondo, with the names that Ondo is actually working with and what they have to provide for the space. So, $10 is not something that's out of reach, or even $5. And I know that's not crazy in terms of ROI, but I don't think that the risk is that high with a project like Ondo that's working with some pretty big names. Now, talking about that, let's take a quick look at how bullish July was for Ondo, because they did put out a great post regarding July itself. We have July was one of our biggest months yet. Ondo was featured in the White House's Digital Asset Report. The Global Markets Alliance grew to 20 plus members. We announced USDY is coming to see, made strategic acquisitions, and more. Here are the key developments you need to know of. So number one, and yes, I actually have that open over here. 1 second, let me grab it. So I actually don't have this open, but regardless, this was the big thing that happened recently where everyone was looking at what the White House just announced. This is definitely a big one because it did put Ondo on the map in the White House's recent document regarding digital assets, We'll talk about that here in a second, but we have Ondo Finance was featured in the White House's digital asset report. Ondo was included in the report's tokenization framework section, highlighting our approach for how real-world assets can operate on-chain. And if we actually look at this, we do see here that this recognition reflects a growing consensus. Tokenization isn't just an innovation, it's the future operating system for traditional assets in a global digital economy. And yes, that's exactly what's happening. And at Ondo, this moment reinforces what we've been building towards for years, a more open, efficient, and globally accessible financial system powered by tokenized RWAs. And this is actually with tokenized treasuries, with stablecoins, tokenized securities, you name it. And in terms of Ondo's role in the next chapter, unlocking access, making US assets globally available via fully backed compliance-first tokenized products, powering 24/7 markets, enabling deliver versus payment settlements across a range of financial products from treasuries to equities, bridging TradFi and DeFi, connecting institutional grade assets to programmable, interoperable blockchain infrastructure. And then, of course, we are grateful for all of these names for recognizing what Ondo is doing. And if we actually look in the document here, we actually have the image itself. So you can see the traditional financial assets on the left side, and then we have the issuer, which is Ondo at the center point with price feeds, smart contracts, assets in custody, and even third-party oversight. And then on the right side, you have those tokenized financial assets. This is all through blockchain rails that can move 24/7 with global access and self-custody. And this is exactly where we're actually headed when it comes to a lot of, financial markets and even asset classes. So I'm very excited about this. And then, going into the next section here, we introduced Ondo Catalyst, a $250 million strategic investing initiative supported by Pantera Capital to accelerate on-chain capital markets development. On top of that, the Global Markets Alliance grew to 20 plus members, and this is all of those members, as you guys can see here. So this is actually some pretty big names. I do have a few of the announcements here as well. For example, we have Glider. We also have the one with Gate.io. I mean, these are some pretty large names that are added to this list. And in terms of like global markets itself, this is a huge alliance to bring these markets on chain that could tap in wallets, protocols, chains themselves for, moving these tokenized assets over the digital rails, and even exchanges to really kind of facilitate, just off ramps and on ramps. Outside of that, we announced our plans to acquire Oasis Pro, an SEC registered broker dealer, ATS, and transfer agent. This provides Ondo Finance with a full suite of licenses and infrastructure required to offer and develop tokenized securities markets in the US. This is a game changer, by the way. This allows Ondo to breach the US market in a huge way at a time where the US market for tokenized assets and blockchain itself is opening up in a huge way. I love to see this. Outside of that, USDY is coming to C. USDY will be the first tokenized treasury asset on the C network, bringing institutional grade on-chain yield to its ecosystem, unlocking new use cases for treasury management, RWA-backed payments, and composable yield strategies. Outside of that, Ondo Finance acquired Strangelove Labs to accelerate the full stack RWA platform development, expanding engineering capabilities for RWA infrastructure. Alchemy Pay adds global support for fiat on-ramp to USDY. Also, Alchemy Pay is another great project. This integration enables users across 173 countries to purchase USDY using local currencies. This was just in July. I mean, it's crazy, but these are the types of announcements that are coming from a project of Ondo's size. Like, think about where the value should actually be here for Ondo. And by the way, they continue to expand their global market, right? Because we also saw this announcement just recently, which I love to see this with LCX. You guys know I'm a huge supporter of LCX. I think that it's a great project. The Global Markets Alliance expands with the addition of LCX. As a regulated exchange, LCX brings a compliance-first approach to digital assets with infrastructure that supports trading, issuance, and also emerging use cases like real-world asset tokenization. They join a growing community of industry leaders working to bring tokenized stocks, ETFs, and more on-chain with the right standards in place. I love to see this. This is incredible to see. If you hold LCX or any of the projects that are mentioned in this announcement, right? Like, these are some great projects and some great companies as well. Some of these like Solana, or BNB or any of these, right? You should be looking into what Ondo is building with these chains attached. And it reminds me back to what we saw with Ondo with even Stellar, right? Back in April. We're bringing USDY, the world's most popular tokenized US treasuries asset by number of holders to the Stellar org network. With billions in payment volume flowing through Stellar, we're excited to introduce a better form of money to a network built for real-world utility. This was a huge confirmation that if you hold XLM, maybe looking into Ondo is not a bad idea. Then we also witnessed a big update with Ripple. They spotlighted Ondo CEO Nathan Allman on bringing tokenized treasuries like OUSG to the XRP ledger. Obviously, I can't play this video because there is music behind it, but when we think about what Ondo is doing with some of these big names, you know, they're working with Ripple, they're working with the XRP ledger as well, just similar to what they're doing with Stellar and XLM. But you know, these are the types of moves. This is what we want to see from projects like Ondo that are becoming legitimate infrastructure for this huge revolution that's happening. Tokenization is bringing every single asset on chain, every single dollar on chain. It's only a matter of time until we witness the big waterfall moment where we're starting to see trillions flooding on chain. Ondo is going to be a facilitator of a large portion of that. And even over here we have with Chainlink. Chainlink is excited to be working with Connexus by JP Morgan and Ondo on a groundbreaking way to utilize Connexus digital payments to allow institutional clients to purchase Ondo's tokenized treasuries. With 23 billion plus in tokenized RWAs on public chains, the need for secure cross-chain delivery versus payment infrastructure is accelerating. And this is with JP Morgan and Chainlink with Ondo. And this is exactly how it works. You have that private blockchain on the left side, the Chainlink runtime environment in the center point, and then on the right side, you have the RWA blockchain, which is Ondo chain. And this is all using OUSG. We have powering DVP settlement via secure blockchain infrastructure is designed to reduce uncertainty and counterparty risk from transactions. Connexus digital payments and permission blockchain network has already contributed to powering over 1.5 trillion in notional value for major institutions and corporations, while Ondo chain is supporting cross-chain compliant settlement for tokenized assets. The Chainlink runtime environment enables secure orchestration between these chains. So we love to see this. All of the groundwork is already being laid here with Ondo. I want you guys to realize that this is crucial infrastructure. Even over here we have from Ondo, the infrastructure that powers trillions of dollars in global markets is getting its first major upgrade in decades. Settlement times measured in blocks, not days. And Ondo wants to be that infrastructure. They are committed to this becoming a reality. And I want you guys to understand that it's not just Ondo though. They are working with major networks in this space. They are working with Ripple. They are working with Stellar. They are working with LCX. They're working with some very, very heavy hitters. And it's at a time where a lot of people are just not paying attention to what Ondo is doing. The price action is still pretty flat. I mean, listen, this chart looks pretty boring. There's not much to it. And this is what's telling me that I do think that this cycle is going to be big for Ondo. But long term, I can see Ondo hitting some very significant prices. And I want you guys to understand that this is one of those projects that I foresee being around for years and years and years because of just how strong and how large of a project it is becoming. And it's working with some of the biggest names out there, not just from crypto, but also even in the traditional financial space. Just going to their website real quick, right? If we think about their website, you know, look at some of the names that they're working with. These are the actual, you know, companies in this space and even outside of this space like BlackRock, Coinbase. But you also have some other networks here as well. This is not the website that I'm used to seeing. I know that they have another website as well, but you know, there's a lot going on behind Ondo, and I just don't think people realize how big of a project this is and what they're doing for crypto itself, right? Like this is one of those projects that it's kind of similar to the graph in a way, right? Where I talked about, I, you know, want to invest into key pieces of Web3 that are pretty much projects that are making Web3 become a reality. Ondo is one of them, right? So this is kind of like a pillar for the Web3 future and for the tokenized economy at whole. So this is definitely a project that I think everyone should add to their watch list or pay attention to what Ondo is doing because they're making some pretty big moves. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.